When I first heard their mega mixes, I was like, holy this is amazing! Hey you guys, my name is Daniel Kim, and in this video, I'm gonna be answering your questions about Pop Danthology. Alright, let's get started. How do you make Pop Danthology? Pop Danthology is basically a huge puzzle that I put together using a bunch of different puzzle pieces of sounds. And just like a puzzle, not all pieces fit perfectly together. If your pieces aren't in the same tempo, your blend will sound rhythmically off. And if your pieces aren't in the same key or relative key, your blend will sound harmonically off. That's why for the perfect fit, you'll need the tempo and key of your sounds to be the same. Then voila! You've achieved what's called harmonic mixing, and it sounds beautiful. I recommend a software called Mixed In Key. With Mixed In Key, you can drag and drop a bunch of songs into the software, and it will automatically give you all of that information. What software do you use to make Pop Danthology? I use Logic Pro, and more recently, Ableton. Even though I've spent more years working with Logic, I find that I prefer Ableton's functionality over Logic's. From time to time, I also use Melodyne for intricate pitch manipulation. I'm not just talking about changing a single note up and down. I'm talking about going into a polyphonic sound, like a chord with different notes playing at the same time, and then manipulating individual notes within that polyphonic sound to create a different chord. I did that in Pop Danthology 2010s. In order to mix clarity and That's What I Like together, I had to come up with different chords for clarity. And lastly, I use a bit of Adobe Audition for when I need to do some noise reduction. How long does it take you to make Pop Danthology? My Danthologies are huge projects, and they take about 200 hours to complete. This decade one though took even longer because for the video, my wife and I did a performance which required all this extra time coming up with the choreography, practicing it, and filming it. When did you start working on Pop Danthology 2010s? I started working on this project back in February of this year. For my past anthologies, I started working on them much later in the year, like in September, but back then I was self-employed. Now I've got a full-time job and this channel that I'm focusing on. So to get such a huge project done, I knew I had to start quite early in the year. Why did you take a break from Pop Danthology? Okay, so for those of you who don't already know, my last Pop Danthology was the two-part one back in 2015. I stopped making mashups since that one because of two main reasons. First reason, copyright issues. My videos have gotten blocked worldwide, taken down, and my channel has gotten copyright strikes. That really sucks, especially after putting so many hours into these projects. The second reason I stopped is because I wanted to start a new YouTube channel creating content that I'm much more passionate about, which happens to be this channel right here. We the Kims. Yeah, I'm sorry. Even though many of you guys enjoy the way that I put different sounds together, for me, it's just not as fulfilling or exciting as putting different life lessons together. One of my biggest passions is teaching, and I just wasn't getting to do that with this time-consuming project. How do you deal with copyright issues? My channel used to be signed to a multi-channel network, and that helped in the past. But now there's really nothing that I or an MCN can do. My mashups constantly get hit with copyright claims. So ads get inserted into my mashups, and all the ad revenue goes to the record companies. Those are just annoyances that I've gotten used to, but what pisses me off is when these record companies abuse this system and make illegitimate claims for songs that aren't even in my mashups. Sure, YouTube says that you can dispute these claims, but from my experience, nothing ever happens when I try to dispute them. And then the worst is when they choose to block my videos, take them down, and give my channel a copyright strike. And there's nothing that I can do about it. It's just the way things are on YouTube. What did you do during your hiatus from Pop Danthology? So it was 4 years between my last mashup and this one. During that time, my wife and I got married, we started this channel together, and we traveled around the world. Professionally though, during the first half of those years, I was all over the place. I'd make sponsored videos, do motivational speeches, I'd DJ, I did whatever to chase after my next paycheck. That was not sustainable, and the stress of such unpredictable income really killed my creativity as well. So in the second half of those 4 years, I went back to working full-time in marketing, and it's through gaining some stability in my life that I got back my creativity and focus. I now have a lot of ideas for this channel. So why even bother to do a comeback with a decade mashup? Well, I made Pop Danthology 2010s as a way to promote this new channel. I felt that it would be worth the risks and sacrifices if I could grow We the Kims. So please do subscribe to our channel. Will you make future Danthologies? I'm open to the idea of doing future Danthologies, but I'm definitely not coming back to do them every year like I used to. Maybe every 10 years, but no promises. Yeah, I'd be interested in doing an 80s Danthology. Can I book you as a DJ? can you make me a mashup? At this time, no. I just don't have time for it while I've got a full-time job, a baby on her way, and all these other fun projects I'd rather work on. But if things change and I go back to being self-employed and I kind of need your money, then my answer is, okay, let's talk about it. Why are some of the biggest songs of 2010s missing? There's two main reasons why I exclude certain songs. The first big reason is because I'm trying to avoid my video from getting blocked. When I look at my past mashups, I can see which songs got my videos blocked, and I don't want that to happen to my most recent one, so I just didn't include them. The second big reason is audio quality. I really care about having excellent audio quality throughout my entire mashup. I feel like it's less distracting to the listener if there's that kind of consistency. Now, there's all kinds of techniques and tricks that I could do to isolate sounds from a particular song that I want, but sometimes it's just impossible to get a clean sound from a particular song, so I just don't include it. How did you decide which songs would make it into Pop Danthology 2010s? I thought to myself, would my mother-in-law know this song? You see, she's just a casual listener who doesn't fit the target demographic of these pop songs. That's why I thought she'd be the perfect reference. I figured that if she knows the song, then everybody would know the song. So a song that she'd definitely know, like she could sing the song on her own without any kind of hint or cue, I would give that song a solid 5 points. On the opposite end though, if she'd have no idea what that song is, I'd give that song a 0. So I entered all the top songs from 2010 to 2019 into a spreadsheet, gave each of the songs a mother-in-law score between 0 and 5, and then sorted the whole list in descending order. I then just worked my way down that list. Why is Pop Danthology 2010 so short? So according to the song structure I had in mind, I started building this mashup in the key of G sharp major and its relative minor key, F minor. By the time that I had covered all the different tempos that any song could fit in, I was already at around 5 minutes. Now I had a choice right there to either finish it off at around that 5-minute mark or do a key change. But doing a key change would have doubled my mashup in length. So I looked at my list of the songs that I would be able to include if I did the key change, and I just wasn't convinced that it was worth it. Also, a track that's 10 minutes long isn't likely to get much radio play. And finally, I chose to make it shorter because I was planning on lip syncing to it, and I'm pretty sure that no one wants to watch 10 minutes of straight lip syncing. Why did you decide to do a lip sync video instead of editing the original music videos like you did in the past? As I explained earlier, I made Pop Danthology 2010s as a way to promote this new channel, but I had to find a way to connect this mashup, which is very production focused, to my new channel, which is very personality focused. And I felt that the perfect bridge between the two that my pregnant wife could still get involved in would be a lip sync video. Knowing that lip syncing was going to be a big part of it, that definitely influenced the way that I arranged the music. So you'll notice that there's a lot of parts that goes back and forth between a girl's voice and a guy's voice. Making a lip sync video is also another way that I can differentiate myself from all the other mashup artists around the world. I'm also hoping that by doing a performance with my mashup, others will be inspired to do the same. And lastly, I'm hoping that by not using the original music videos, perhaps I'll get to deal with less issues around copyright. Who came up with the choreography for Pop Danthology 2010s? It's just a simple choreography that I came up with a lot of the same moves from the original music videos. May I use your Pop Danthology 2010s in my performance? Yes, go right ahead. I actually love seeing all the different ways that people express themselves and celebrate life with something that I've put together. What's some of your favorite performances that you've seen done to your past mashups? I've got 2 favorites so far. One is by the Nanyang Polytechnic Chinese Orchestra in Singapore. They orchestrated Pop Danthology 2012. My other favorite is by the Hanlim Multi-Art School in South Korea. They did an amazing high-production dance cover to Pop Danthology 2013. Where and how can I download Pop Danthology 2010s? Just follow the link in the description of the main video. Do you have an instrumental track I can download? No, sorry, I don't. For some of the songs in Pop Danthology 2010s, I wasn't able to get my hands on isolated tracks, so the vocal parts are very much stuck with their instrumental parts. Can you please add your Deathologies to Spotify, Apple Music, etc.? At this time, because of copyright stuff, no, I can't. What was the first mashup you enjoyed? Back in the year 2000, when I was just a 15-year-old 9th grader, while all the other kids were listening to alternative rock and hip-hop music, I alone was listening to an Australian dance music radio station called Wild FM. That's how I discovered Alex K and Nick Skits and their crazy mega mixes. When I first heard their mega mixes, I was like, holy This is amazing! And just like a lot of my fans eagerly wait for my next mashup, I did the same for their next megamix. If you're curious about what kind of mashups I enjoyed back in those days, you should check out Wild FM Volume 12 Megamix and Skits Mix 6 Megamix. But I wouldn't say they were the reason I started making mashups. I only started to think about the possibilities of harmonically mixing pop music once I came across this K-pop megamix titled Adios 2008 by DJ Masa, a DJ from Brazil. I liked his megamix so much that I even did a dance routine to it while I was living in Korea. It was while I was in Korea that I wanted to be a singer-songwriter, and I would sing medleys on YouTube. I then just transitioned from doing medleys with my own voice to doing mashups with the original voices. How would you say you're different as a mashup artist? I've always made my mashups in a way that you can easily sing along to them. So I make sure to string together a dominant melody line that's memorable and easy to follow. That usually means that compared to the average mashup artist, I let the original songs play a little longer. For the instrumental, I've always leaned more towards dance music. I sometimes do connect different lyrics together to create new ones. Like in my 2015 one, I put together the line, "I want you to know, soon as you came in the door, you stole my heart because you're beautiful. I want you to know, I ain't never letting go, so darling hold my hand, don't let me go." Though this kind of lyric mashing is something that a lot of people get impressed by, I find that the resulting melody is not as memorable. Because I prioritize the melody above lyrics, I'd say that I don't do this as much as most people expect from a mashup artist. Also, I'm not sure if this is the case for most other mashup artists, but I don't come from a DJ background. I come from a songwriting and music production background, which definitely influences the way I do this work. What's your favorite Pop Danthology and why? My favorite Pop Danthology I've made is this decade one for sure. With my past mashups, I packed in so many songs. With this decade one, I knew it was going to be impossible to fit everything in. So without any attention on the number of featured songs, I just focused on making it the best that I could make it. Another reason why this decade one is my favorite is because of song structure. With my past mashups, I didn't really think about song structure from the beginning of my process. My process was more spontaneous, and the structure just came along as I played around with putting this piece together with that piece. So that meant in the past, during the beginning stages of my process, I could be working on a section and have no idea whether that was going to be at the beginning, middle, or end. That was not the case with this decade one. From the very beginning, I had a song structure in mind. I wanted to start with low energy and end off with the highest amount of energy. I wanted the beginning to be in a major key so that it would be more inviting to the listener and more delicately nostalgic. Then in the middle, I wanted it to be all in minor key. And then finally, to finish off, I wanted to end off in a major key to bring in a sense of resolution and positivity. I didn't think about any of that in my past mashups. But if I have to choose a favorite one out of my past mashups, I guess it would be the 2012 one. How do you deal with people disliking your mashups? I just accept it as a very normal thing. I don't pay attention to the dislikes or the likes. I place my identity in whose I am rather than what I do, which I talk about more in this video, and I focus my attention back on the purpose in life that I've chosen to live for, which I talk more about in this video. So those are my answers for those questions about Pop Danthology. If you have any more, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks. Bye.